great football this week. Some more awesome football just around the corner here, but also had some news this week. So let's take a little trip into the news. What do you got for us?
I think the biggest story in world football, if you ask this podcast, SK Brann was fined 5,000 euros because of a chant from the Brann supporters during the January 31st Champions League home match versus St. Polten. After a questionable call by the referee, fans chanted something that included the term, quote, UEFA mafia, end quote. We've had several
Chill, bro. You're going to get a spot.
Yeah, don't come after us, UEFA.
We're quoting.
We've had several friends of the pod and members of the Brann Battalion reach out to us over the last few days. And one of the chants that people were citing, loosely, at least as far as we could understand, translates to, quote, "We're from Bergen. We sing what we want, UEFA Mafia."
Gangster.
I love it. And let me tell you, this made me think about, what is UEFA, really? So if somebody were to ask me, Grant, what is UEFA? And for that matter, what is FIFA? I thought about it and was like, okay, how would I answer? And I came up with this. I would describe FIFA and UEFA as independent commercial enterprises that use a combination of partners to limit competition and fix prices. And then I realized, oh, wait a minute, that's the definition of a cartel, isn't it? Oh, weird. So maybe being called a mafia isn't so bad, UEFA, because I think there are a whole lot of terms that people could use to describe your organization.
Perfectly said.
So look, I understand. If you want to find clubs whose fans engage in some kind of racist or sexist or homophobic chants, that is called hate speech, UEFA. We are all familiar with that, and it is not a form of protected speech in many countries. This is not that, to be very, very clear. Chanting, using the term UEFA Mafia, this is not that, nor is this approaching anything like that. A fan chant is not a formal allegation. The referee is not under investigation by anyone for match fixing. It's a song from some folks. I'm going to say this allegedly because I have not been to a Brann home match, but maybe some of those folks were enjoying some beverages, possibly from Seven Fjell, or possibly even from Lervig. We'll get to that. You guys correct me if I'm butchering the name of those breweries. But perhaps UEFA should not be so sensitive about this. And speaking of Seven Fjell and Lervig, Dino, I just got to tell you, I am very much looking forward to when we take this show abroad. Obviously, Bergen is likely to be the first stop. And I got to do the research to make sure that I'm saying the name of these breweries correctly and to, frankly, launch an investigation into the taste of those beers. But I digress, obviously.
Oh my God. Shout out to all of our community members that pointed us in the direction of this absolutely ridiculous fine. Not only is it not a formal allegation like you mentioned, it's not like it's the official stance of the club. It's not like their PR department was like, well, all right, guys, here's what we're going to hit UEFA with this week. It was good to see that freedom of speech, as beloved in Norway as it is here in the US. And my biggest thought here is like, seriously, like UEFA, you have nothing better to do? Like, you have nothing better to do to move the game of football forward? I don't know, maybe hiring, training more referees, maybe some goal line technology, maybe, a slight expansion of the TV rights for competitions like the Nations League. Granted, these were small countries that most people have never heard of, tiny nations like Germany and the Netherlands playing in a third place match where the winner gets to be one of the 12 countries in the Olympics. I mean, who'd want to watch that? Seriously, do something better with your time. Life is short. I mean, I don't know. What more can you say? Ridiculous.
Totally out of bounds. I think you nailed it. Like, you guys got to have something better to worry about. I'm going to use something. I think I've used this phrase on another podcast weeks and weeks ago. It sounds ridiculous coming out of my mouth. It is something that people from the southern part of the United States say. And I believe the phrase is something to the effect of, a hit dog is gonna holler, is what some people in the American South say. And from my understanding, as a guy who's from the North my entire life, it roughly translates to, you wouldn't have a problem with it if there wasn't a level of truth to it. And so I think that's what UEFA is coming away looking like in this case.
No arguments here. I want to bring some good news. It's not just into the bad news. Let's go into the good news. Fast forwarding a couple weeks, we're going to come back with some Champions League preview coverage. We're going to cover all 4 quarterfinals matchups with a dedicated episode, except for Brann Barcelona, where we're going to drop a 2-parter. We're going to bring a special guest on to explain to us how it could even be possible that this Barcelona side has any chance of advancing against Brann. We're going to break it down from top to bottom. So please be sure to subscribe. We're going to have a lot of fun with that. We'll drop that the day before the match. I think that's the 19th of March. So that's right around the corner here. Already starting to get really pumped about that. So wanted to break a little news here on the pod.
Let's go into the breaking news now. Also,
let's go.
So yeah, I mean, obviously, Brann gets its 2-parter. We're gonna have sensible breakdown, and then we're just gonna have total fan. We're fucking out here marching with the battalion against all enemies, whether they want to believe they're enemies or not.
Let's go. Going to be a seismic preview. What else do we have to hit into the news?
So we'll take it out of Norway and we'll go over to the Netherlands. I think we would be quite remiss if we did not mention that Into the Channel co-favorite with Brann, Ajax.
Let's go.
Went into FC Twente's building and scored a resounding 3-0 victory. Give you a quick breakdown of what we saw in the match. Again, this is another league that we're looking for sketchy YouTube streams. We're looking for whatever kind of way we can to watch this. Luckily, the nice folks at Ajax have an official YouTube account, and they put some pretty neatly done highlights on there. And from what I can tell, Regina van Eyck made an incredible save early in the match to keep things level. And based on those highlights that we saw, it looked like Twente was applying plenty of pressure early in that match. I mean, the first couple minutes of the highlights were just Twente threatening. Then we finally get to the 25th minute. Ajax fullback Issa Cardinal unleashed a long-range pass, had to be a 40-yard bomb into Rome Luchter. Luchter is behind her marker. She controlled the ball like we've seen Rome do in several matches so far in the Champions League, and she drove the shot past the keeper 1-0. In American football, coaches and pundits refer to these big plays as splash plays to indicate long gains. That was about as much of a splash as you could possibly make on a football pitch.
Splash. Yeah, I'm glad. Yeah, I was glad to see Luchter get on the board. I was hoping she would have gotten a little bit of run against Germany, the Nations League final, especially when they couldn't kind of get anything going. Great to see her back. Great to see Ajax in a big match. Like we talked about this Twente side, undefeated, never lost. That's out the window. And now we might have ourselves a bit of a title race.
And you'll have to correct me if I'm wrong here. I was trying to remember. So the second goal came in this Ajax Twente match. The second goal came in the 38th minute when Bente Janssen played a perfect cross near the penalty spot into Luchter. Luchter hits a looping header that forced the Twente keeper into like a diving save. She only gets a slight touch on it. It caresses off the crossbar. And what do you know? Nadine Nordum right there for the rebound tap in. We're 2-0 at halftime. I think the part that I was trying to remember, I can't remember Bente Janssen having a huge impact. I know you covered that group a little more. She didn't have a ton of impact in the Champions League group stage. Am I making that up?
Yeah. So I know for sure that Janssen didn't play in all the matches. I think if she did get time, it was definitely short minutes, didn't have a big impact during the group stage. But who knows? This could be the start of her kind of carving out a new role in the team, especially as we head into the quarterfinals.
Yeah, interesting to see. She's 24 years old, has 3 goals in the league this year. So we talked about Ajax too previously in some of their in some of their other domestic league matches that we've tried to check out. They're trying stuff.
Yeah.
They are very clearly gearing up to make an impact in the knockout stage of the Champions League. So from what I saw in this match, Ajax's defense really seemed to hold up well. Kaylee DeSanders, who we have seen make an impact in Champions League matches, her and Cardinal, they had some important interventions in some big spots. Those combined with Van Eyck's good reactions and maybe some missed opportunities from Twente, frankly. Ajax walks away with all 3 points and a new look, maybe, possibly, hopefully, at winning their domestic league. I'm going to try this. Apologies to any of our Dutch pals. Eredivisie Vrouwen. It seems like it's something like that. Maybe Eredivisie Vrouwen. We'll see. Sorry if I'm sounding German, guys. I'm trying. They're 6 points behind Twente, and they're 6 points ahead of PSV Eindhoven. And speaking of PSV, Ajax fans, you got to temporarily become fans of PSV. They take on Twente next. So now if PSV can take some points from Twente and you notch another victory, now we're really cooking.
Yep, striking distance. Definitely going to be a team to watch. A couple of crossing of the streams, because it was really nice to see like Luchter score, Noordum get kind of like a little bit of a poacher's type goal on her chance, just right place, right time. And then a little bit of what we talked about with both Colombia and Paraguay. Twente goes down 2-0 and didn't look very threatening after that. I think it was a kind of pack it in territory. It could be a function of just kind of how far ahead they are, knowing that it's a longish season, not quite the same, live or die stakes that you would see at a knockout stage. But yeah, interesting things to take note of there. And Ajax might be kind of coming into some form here. It felt like after the Champions League group stage that the fucking quarterfinals felt like they were a year away, and now we're just a couple weeks out, so it's starting to get excited. And we said it at that point that these teams would start to change with regard to how they looked, dealing with injuries, and I think we already see it. Unfortunately, some teams like a Chelsea official goes down, Macario comes back in. It's like, the ground is definitely shifting under their feet. On the flip side, we see an Ajax team doing some tinkering, and the tinkering starting to pay off a little bit.
Hell yeah. They got a lot of good players on that side. They got physical players that when you have a 2-leg quarterfinal and you have to go into their stadium, could be a really tricky proposition.
Yeah, 100%. We had one more item on the Into the News
Got
docket here. Shout out to @Vespa do Eliseu. Hopefully I said that right. Great friend of the pod on Twitter. Always engaging. Always giving us that Rio, pointing us in the right direction. Hit us with something special this week. Tell me about it.
I mean, what is there to say about what Keika Nazareth did? I mean, I'm scrolling through Twitter. I think at the time I was watching one of the Gold Cup matches, and Vespa do Eliseu, they just tag us in the tweet. All they do is respond to a video and just put @ITC_pod on Twitter. I'm like, oh, what's going on here? Like, we've seen Vespa. Like, I'm gonna go Vespa for short. Maybe Eliseu. Let us know what you prefer, please, because we for real. Like, it's super rad that you tagged us in this, because I responded to them and just said, Kika's a goddamn wizard. So the ball comes in. I like the run of play up to it, where you have long cross and then short cross. It's like a 1-2 kind of these aerial balls. And then Kika just says, oh shit, the pass is behind me. What should I do? I'm going to do like a combination of a scorpion kick and just a Jean-Claude Van Damme roundhouse kick and put it top corner is the thing.
Yeah.
Is that it's like, it's perfectly placed. I'm still trying to wrap my mind around what happened.
I've never seen that before. Oh. I mean, that's a one of one. I mean, like, if she goes on to be a generational type player for Portugal at Benfica, that has to be the statue. Just put that shit in bronze. That would be so fucking dope. It also reminded me, speaking of Champions League and who was in, who wasn't, we didn't get to see Kika the last couple matches on the Benfica side. So that Barcelona draw, that win over Rosengard, like they kind of seal up the group. No Kika in either of those matches, I believe. But I believe I got that right. So having her back in form, I mean, starting to get excited again. Excited.
Let's go. I mean, I just can't wait. Like, W Gold Cup has been fantastic. We've talked about it a lot. I know I say it. International football, super cool. UEFA Women's Nations League, awesome. Great competition, great players. Elite club football is the best shit in the world.
Let's shift gears here. So, got some big news this week involving a certain NWSL team that I may or may not have become a fan of over the last 12 months, and also involving an African country that I may or may not have become a fan of in the last 12 months. What do we need to know about what went down this week?
We are recording this on Thursday, March 7th, and I will tell you on Tuesday, March 5th, Sandra Herrera of the Attacking Third reported that the Orlando Pride was primed to sign Zambian striker Barbra Banda to a landmark contract.
Come on.
I could not believe it when I saw it. Buddy, the pitch is yours. Just go ahead.
I mean, first off, what a fucking moment for Zambia, the Copper Queens. I mean, just African football in general. We lost our fucking minds when Kunda Naji gets her transfer to come over to play for Bay FC. She did pick up what we hope is a minor injury against Ghana. So wishing her well. Hope to see her back on the field soon. But back to my Orlando pride. I have to go back and check the tapes, which, we like to do here at the ITC. I kind of want to say that I made the call to say, well, why can't my Orlando pride sign Barbra Banda?
Yes.
And to have it happen, like, absolute pinch me moment. For anyone not familiar with Barbra Banda's work, she had that very famous 2-goal performance to beat Germany in a friendly leading up to the World Cup. In that one, Alexandra Popp scores, I think in the 100th minute, something crazy like that.
Way late.
To make it 2-2. 2 minutes later, Barbra Banda cooks the entire German defense to give them a massive win over one of the footballing global powerhouses, Germany. She's the leading scorer in Olympic history from an African nation. Zambia made the Olympics in, what was that, 2020? Yeah, last Olympics, which might have been played in 2021. She had 6 goals in 3 group stage matches in the Olympics, which included a 1-0 loss to Brazil. They got better every single match in that Olympics. I think she got on the score sheet in this most recent World Cup. Also Zambia's first win. They got a big win over Costa Rica, who we just saw give Canada kind of all they can handle in the CONCACAF W Gold Cup. I'm just fucking over the moon. She's an incredible talent. Still just 23 years old. I mean, blazing speed, finishing off the charts. Her game is going to fit incredibly well in the NWSL.
Oh, yeah.
And I mean, we got to just go ahead, do what we do, put these other teams on notice, because she's going to be an absolute problem coming into the league. Cannot wait to see her. She's going to be right up the road here. Yeah, just an absolute pinch me moment.
I was so psyched for you, man. Like, and I mean, we'll check the tapes, but when I looked at it, it was like cartoon character, like, whoa, what? Like, I had to look at it, was just like, because I'm 99% sure you did say, can we get Barbra Banda on the Orlando Pride? Like, I'm pretty sure you asked for this shit, and the people in management were like, yeah, we could do that. Let's pony up the money. We got the new rights deal. Let's fucking, turns out she's good. You probably gave him the fucking scouting report.
I wouldn't be shocked.
Yeah.
Second largest transfer fee in women's football history. Now the top 2 spots go to Copper Queens in that category. How fucking
Amazing.
cool is that? I mean, they were our squad at last World Cup, and they're knocking on the door of the Olympics again. They get a win over Morocco. That match is coming up, I think, the first or second week of April. Definitely going to be on our calendar. So we'll be locked into that one. But, oh my God, what a moment. What a moment for the ITC.
I mean, and I think you're right, too, like talking about her play. She walks into the league and is immediately one of the best players in the league. I don't think there's any doubt about that. Her and Kunda Naji are both 23 years old. That is amazing for the country of Zambia. It's amazing for the NWSL. Let's keep this trend going. The NWSL got this new media rights deal. Go out and sign these incredible young talented players that we've seen abroad. Obviously, we're developing talent here in the USA. We've talked a lot about Lisbeth Ovalle in Mexico, but like, this is a Barbra Banda hour right now. I cannot wait to see her play for Orlando. You could not have picked a more exciting signing for your squad.
Oh my God, no. I mean, that was top of my wish list for sure. Her game's also a little bit raw.
Yes.
I think with some coaching, a different style of play, probably a lot better service than she's getting over in China at the moment. I mean, the sky's the limit. This NWSL season cannot get here soon enough. Anything else you want to hit? I mean, incredible show. Just what a wild week of football. Anything else you want to hit before we get out of here?
I think that's it, man. I think that's all we can fit in 90 minutes plus extra time of this program.
All right, man. I think we did it. It's been another episode of Into the Channel. Remember, subscribe or follow Into the Channel, YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you like to watch or listen, at ITC_pod on X, at Into the Channel pod on Threads. Big thanks to you for watching and listening. The Into the Channel community. It's a place where all of us can hang, share ideas, make predictions, good or bad, celebrate the sport we love. We're thrilled to have all of you, each and every one of you, hanging out with us, being active in the comments section, correcting our shit that we get wrong, enlightening us on all of the news, sending us Keika Nazareth highlight goals. I mean, all of it's just appreciated to no end. And it's a sincere thank you to each and every one of you. And big thank you to my co-host, one of the keys to the show, you might call him, Mr. Grant Angle. Appreciate you, man.
I appreciate that. And, in those comments, let us know. I know, Dino, you've lived in Orlando for a little while, not the longest time. Let us know in the comments, where do you find the best Zambian restaurants in Orlando? Well, we gotta start figuring some shit out down there.
Sounds like a market opportunity.
There we go. All right, man. I'll talk to you next time.